Forgiveness is a very difficult but important process when you are on your journey of healing from trauma, abuse, childhood neglect. So naturally, our tendency is to want to hold on to anger, bitterness, victimization, and to remain in that state because somehow we feel that we are hurting or punishing the other person by holding on to those negative feelings. However, this is not the case, and the only thing that is happening here is that you are holding on to negative energy in your own body. So today I'm going to be going over the process of forgiveness, what it really means, how to really do it, and what it does not mean. So when we are on our spiritual journey, or when we are healing from narcissistic or abusive parents or people in our past who have hurt us, forgiveness is a very, very important step to our own healing and our own recovery and wholeness. While you're here, go ahead and like this video and subscribe for more. My name is Claire, and I'm here to help you on your journey of healing and becoming whole after abuse, or simply on your spiritual journey. Feel free to reach out if you'd like to work with me, and I will have all of my links below. I'm also making and selling crystal jewelry, which I will link below from my Etsy shop as well. So I would love you to check that out. So let's go ahead and discuss first what some common misconceptions about forgiveness are, and then I will go into how to actually process, heal, and forgive someone who hurt you. So first of all, forgiveness is a lot more than simply a word. It's not simply one action that you take where you meet the person who abused you and you say, I forgive you, and it's just, a simple decision. Actually, forgiveness is an emotional process. It is an energetic release of the pain, the victimization, the abuse that happened to you, and it is a full processing and understanding of what the other person did to you and going through all of those feelings to the point where you have released them all and they are no longer within your body, and you can accept and understand what happened and possibly see the other person's point of view with perhaps some compassion or at least understanding of where they may have been coming from, to the point where you don't have any negative emotions to be holding on to. This does not mean that after you have forgiven the person, that you will suddenly want to be their friend or allow them back into your life or suddenly see them differently and forget all about the abuse or neglect or mistreatment of you. It does not mean that your boundaries that you have created with this anger and resentment and pain, these boundaries, it does not mean that once you forgive that these boundaries will go away just because the anger and pain are gone. No, you will still have your boundaries, and in fact you will have a heightened awareness, a heightened understanding, and an energetic boundary that naturally protects you even once those negative emotions are gone. Because as you process through all of these feelings, you will come to a deeper understanding and you will energetically become whole and no longer be holding on in any way to the abuser. So that's something to be aware of, is when you have been abused or when you are holding on to this resentment and anger from the past, from someone who hurt you, you are actually holding on to them energetically. There is an energetic tie, in this case, a negative energetic tie, that is holding you and connecting you to them. So, when you really think about it, forgiveness is actually releasing you from the person who abused you. And that is giving you even more freedom than you may think you have by holding on to anger and these negative emotions as protection. So rather than feeling that you have to keep anger and keep resentment as a protection, you will simply be severing the ties, and you will have learned through this process of what your boundaries should be and what you should and should not accept and what really happened. Now, when we're talking about forgiveness also, there is another misconception that as you hold on to your anger and resentment, that this is going to be hurting and punishing the other person. Yes, there is that idea that, you're angry at them, so you're going to get revenge and you're going to hurt them back and all of that. But when you really think about it, that is more so hurting you, and you are maintaining and holding in trauma and anger and negative emotions that are keeping you down, and that you are the one suffering more than they are, because this is constant inside of you. This is an emotional state that is being maintained through you holding on to it. Whereas the punishment that they may be receiving is very small and insignificant compared to what you are putting upon yourself by holding on to this anger and resentment and pain. So it is not worth it for you and your own body. So yes, I have been there too, where it feels like so much better and such a better idea to be angry and pissed off and just think that that's some sort of revenge. But all that is doing is bogging you down and keeping you from the growth that you need in order to heal. Now that we have the misconceptions out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about how to actually go through this process of forgiveness and what will be the result of this process. So as we have been talking about on this channel, it is so important for those of us who have been abused or mistreated in childhood or in the past to process those emotions and heal from them through shadow work, through emotional release, and through experiencing the emotions. So the same exact thing goes for forgiveness. As you process your emotions regarding a specific person who abused you or who hurt you, and as you go through each stage of emotions regarding that person or the experience, you will naturally reach a state of forgiveness. So, for example, let's say you had a parent who abused, neglected you, mistreated you in childhood. You are now an adult and you would like to heal, and you would like to go through your shadow work and get to the point where you're not holding on to all this pain and baggage, because it hurts to feel that way. It hurts on a daily basis to have that trauma energy trapped inside your body. And so you begin your shadow work. You will likely feel all sorts of emotions about the person who abused you. So you will go through perhaps denial that they even did anything wrong. Then you will go through a realization of what actually happened, pain, grief, sorrow, anger. You will feel all sorts of emotions. You'll be processing through these. After you process through all of these, you'll come to, perhaps a resentment, and then perhaps to an acceptance and an understanding of what they were going through and maybe why they did it. Even though it's not justified and even though it was wrong, you could still see things from their perspective. When you get to this point, you have released all of that baggage. You've released everything from the deepest point and root of the trauma, going all the way up. So there's no more negative emotion left inside of you about this person or experience. And that is when you are able to forgive. So rather than being a word, forgiveness is the completion of dealing with all of your emotional trauma and baggage and pain caused by this person. When you get to this point, it is liberating because you have literally allowed and purged and processed everything that was tying you to them negatively. In a sense, you are letting go of this negative attachment and this energetic attachment of abuse. And that is where you can forgive, because then there's nothing tying you to them and you can just let go of them. And at that point, as you let go of them, you have just gone through all of these stages of processing the emotions that they had caused you and that they had inflicted upon you, and all this trauma that you had been storing because of them. You process through that, you process through the anger, and then at the end, you know exactly what happened to you. You see everything from a bigger scale, further scale, and now you are stronger. So rather than now allowing them back in just because you have forgiven them, now you have natural boundaries, not built by anger or pain or resentment, but built by strength and power and awareness. And so in that way, forgiveness is far more powerful than holding on to all of this baggage, because it really allows you to have the natural boundaries and the natural understanding. And then you have let them go. You've severed ties. And it's up to you at this point, now that you have severed ties, severed all the emotional connection and the trauma, you get to choose. You are in power if you allow them back into your life or not. It's up to you. And they will have no effect on you because they will no longer be triggering you. So even if you do have to see them, or if there's a family gathering, or somehow if you see them, they will no longer be deeply triggering you and deeply angering you in your presence. So they lose their power over you, whether they knew that they had power or not. And you gain your power back, and you have natural boundaries. And depending on what they did, or depending on the abuse, you have the full right to keep them out of your life. Forgiving is your emotional process to release your trauma and your pain about what they did to you. It is not a free pass for them to come back into your life and continue to treat you that way. Or it's also not a free pass for them to come back into your life at all, whether or not they treat you better. It's all you. You get to decide. And so in that way, forgiveness is the best thing that you could do, because you are releasing the trauma and the past from your body. And that is healthy for you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please comment below if you have questions, and I will see you guys in my next video. Remember, as always, you are so powerful. Bye, guys.